Yes. Okay, I think now it's better.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I greet you all in peace. Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessing be upon us all. Let me start with saying I welcome you and address you as my brothers and sisters in humanity, in soul, because we are created by the Almighty, the one who are above every one of us. And we are brothers and sisters in humanity, and our soul have been given from one source, the source of the Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth. And let's say good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to begin this auspicious occasion by heartily welcoming everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this morning. I would like to welcome our also distinguished guests, religious leaders from different faith and different walk of life. Your knowledge and input in this meeting and vast experience that you have will be shared today for the benefit of all of us attendees. I would like to extend also a special welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Francis Correa, who is the Secretary General of the African Council of Religious Leaders. We are pleased to have you all in attendance today as we discuss the pressing issues which prevent peace in South Africa. My hope today is together we create a platform which will make South Africa a better place. We always talk about interfaith, and some of us misunderstand the meaning of that interfaith. Actually, I don't like to call it interfaith. I will say we are different faith, but we have one goal. We are different faith, but we are one family. We are brothers and sisters. And God Almighty gave us the freedom to choose our faith and our way of life. And therefore, we should accept each other. We should accept that we are different faith, but we are still brothers and sisters, and we can work together. So in a minute, let me pray that the Almighty accept this meeting. And we are thankful to the Almighty that He give us the ability to meet in this platform today for one purpose, and only purpose is to serve Him by bringing peace to our community and serve our community. Amen. And let me give a minute to every one of us to pray your own way. Let us pray our own way in 1 minute silently. I don't like that 1 minute silent, but we pray 1 minute in our own language way and ask God to help us kindly. I thank you, Chair Lady, and hand over to you back.
Thank you so much, dear Sheikh Walid. We now would like to warmly welcome Dr. Francis Kuria from the African Council of Religious Leaders, who's all the way in Kenya, but he's right here with us in our rooms, our houses, our synagogue, wherever we are today. He's here with us. And we'd like to just give him the opportunity to tell us a little bit about what is the African Council of Religious Leaders and anything else his heart feels moved to share with us to inspire us. Thank you, Dr. Francis.
Thank you very much, Hailey, Udu, and thank you very much, Walid, for those kind words. I am honored and gratified to meet the religious leaders from South Africa today on the theme of peace and how the religious leaders and the religious institutions in South Africa can better collaborate for peace, not just in South Africa, but in the region and also the Southern Africa region, but also the whole of Africa. First, I would like to start by mentioning that right now we are very sad because there is a very, very serious cyclone that has hit Southern Africa, Madagascar, Mozambique, and Malawi are very, very badly affected. Already more than 100 people have died. And I ask all of you to join me in sending our condolences and our messages of goodwill to the people of Madagascar, Mozambique, and Malawi. We shall be releasing a statement as ACRL to stand and pray with the people of Malawi and Mozambique and Madagascar for the tragedy that have hit them. Also asking all of us to be conscious of the effect of climate change and to do everything that we can, all within our means, to help reduce the carbon emissions and help reduce the dangers of climate change and see if we can restore the environment to a place where God intended, and we can be better stewards so that the extreme weather patterns can end. With those, coming back to the issue at hand, first is to tell you that the African Council of Religious Leaders is very, very keen to see a vibrant and active interreligious mechanism in South Africa. The people in South Africa of different faiths having active dialogue and taking action. Having dialogue and taking action. We always talk about different faiths, common action. Within our different faiths, we dialogue and then take action for peace in Africa. And peace in Africa can only be achieved if we have justice and prosperity for all. So this is a call for the religious leaders in South Africa to dialogue among themselves so that they can seek justice and seek prosperity for all the people of South Africa. And through that, they can achieve peace in South Africa. Now, how do the people and the religious actors in South Africa achieve this active dialogue? The African Council of Religious Leaders is supporting the people of faith from different countries to try and achieve the best mechanism for dialogue. I can report to you that just last month, I was in Eswatini to discuss with the religious leaders in Eswatini on how they can be effective interlocutors in that country through effective interreligious dialogue and action. And therefore, there is opportunity for every country for the religious leaders to come together for effective interreligious dialogue and action. South Africa is a very old member of the African Council of Religious Leaders and Religions for Peace movement worldwide. The chapter in South Africa was established in 1984, which is a long time ago. And therefore, interreligious dialogue and interfaith action has been taking place in South Africa for a long time. But we must accept that like all other organizations, they are actors in South Africa right now may not be as active as it might be optimal in championing interfaith dialogue and action in South Africa. And
Sorry, Dr. Kuria, you seem to have frozen. Kenya is a long ways away. Let's hope that the Wi-Fi reconnects. Otherwise, we will move on to that continued message of encouragement from the International Leadership of Religions for Peace. Dr. Kuria, I'm so sorry, but you seem to still be frozen. So if it's okay with everybody, if he comes back, we'll have him in the discussion portion share anything else that we've missed. But in the meantime, if it's acceptable, Sheikh Walid, we'll go on to the video from Professor Azza Karam at the United Nations office in New York. Okay, Vadan, can you assist us, please? And just a warm welcome to everybody who's joined in a little bit late. I'm so happy to see you all here. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to have an opportunity for us each to introduce ourselves just now. But we'll first listen to Prof. Azza and her inspiring message. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you, one and all. My name is Azza Karam, and I have the privilege of serving Religions for Peace, which is actually the world's largest, oldest, and most representative alliance of religious leaders, religious institutions, and faith communities, working together for over 5 decades to serve the common good, deeply held and widely shared values, also to protect the global commons. The organization, since its founding in 1970 in Kyoto, Japan, understood the criticality of peace, not only as an absence of conflict, indeed not only as an absence of the indignities of injustice, but truly as an effort, continuous journey towards achieving a world that is better for all at all times and not for some at some times. The mission of Religions for Peace has not only become more critical with passing time. In fact, sometimes I wonder what the difference is between the 1970s and today. Because then, as in now, we were confronted with a pandemic of war. The nuclear arms was a big issue of concern and fear. And we had injustice, we had inequity and inequalities galore. We still had a system of apartheid, however, and this is what gives me tremendous joy to address you today. Religions for Peace South Africa, our sisters and brothers in South Africa, and one of the interreligious councils, one of 97 interreligious councils of Religions for Peace that bears the Religions for Peace name, which actually is a flagship for the entire global movement. The Religions for Peace Interreligious Council of South Africa set the standard and set the bar very high for the rest of the Religions for Peace interreligious councils, because its members then were absolutely critical to the anti-apartheid movement. In fact, they were so critical that in 1994, with the advent of a new post-apartheid government, many of the members then of Religions for Peace South Africa flew the nest to become very vested and heavily engaged and involved in the running of their nation, in the running of their new nation. One of these remarkable members was Bishop Desmond Tutu. And I'm therefore even more honored and delighted to know that this particular National Religious Leaders Conversation is taking place in strong collaboration with the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, as well as Heartlines, the Center for Values Promotion. There is nothing more powerful than when faith leaders and leaders of cultural, political, and generally national interests come together for the sake of a common joint mission, which is peace writ large. Again, we emphasize that peace is not the absence of conflict. On the contrary, it is the ability to deal with ongoing conflicts, because that is a part of our human nature as well as a part of our human lives. Today's biggest challenge that confronts us all equally and makes very little distinction is not COVID-19, even though heaven knows it confronts us all equally and makes little distinction. But today's greatest challenge to all of us is the challenge to the survival of this earth, this planet Earth, without which we would not exist. And if some of us manage to successfully get to the moon in time, it would not be the survival of this planet. For a long time, we spoke about the survival of the fittest, and we all know that that is no longer an option. Now it has to be the survival of all, and that requires the survival of this planet. It is often incredibly difficult, even as the world wakes up, and especially governmental and intergovernmental organizations, especially as they wake up to the realization of how critical the role of religious leaders and religious actors is. It is not always easy to understand or even to prompt the religious communities and other faith leaders, let alone the political leaders, to work together. And yet the very, very basic reality that COVID-19 drilled into all of us, and that this environmental series of polycrises, war, environmental degradation, and public health pandemics, one critical lesson of all of these polycrises is the absolute necessity to stand alongside in solidarity with one another and to work together on the causes that we hold common and dear. There is no such reality that everybody's going to come together in solidarity all the time. We know this. We know this from legions of histories which have taught us that, in fact, it is usually each to his own, rather than all to the common good and common benefit. But there is a formula which has proved successful time and again, particularly when engaging with faith and with religions as a central part of the tenet of our identity and our legacy on this earth. And what is that particular lesson? The lesson is that we must absolutely work together. That the only way to combat violent extremism, whether it comes in a political, religious, cultural, financial garb, the only way to combat violent extremism is indeed to work in solidarity with one another, to work together. And when religions work together, lo and behold, we come across a very interesting dynamic, which is that any form of religious fundamentalism, let alone religious extremism, becomes intolerant and intolerable to the majority. Therefore, there is an imperative. It is not a luxury. It's not a when we have time, please, we might do this. It's not a wait until we see how grand and wonderful my own religion or my own organization or my own government is. But it is an absolute imperative now, in order for us to face the polycrisis, to ensure that we work collaboratively with one another. Yes, the lesson is we can't do it all the time, but we can do it on issues that we agree are most dear. One of the most amazing things about the United Nations as a system and about Religions for Peace, which is the United Nations of religious institutions and faith actors, one of the most amazing characteristics is that because our crises are so many and so diverse and so imperative at the same time, we actually have an opportunity to choose which aspect of this we wish to work on together. You need not be committed to all of the Sustainable Development Goals agenda simultaneously. You don't have to. It would be great if you could, but you don't have to work on every single goal together. But you can choose which specific goals under the strategic priorities that the Religions for Peace in tandem with the United Nations have selected. You can choose which specific goals you do want to work on together. It's called issue-based alliances. You can and you must consider how to strategically work on issue-based alliances. For some of you, education is the most important thing. For others, the environment and facets underneath are the most important thing. For others, it's human rights and gender equality, perhaps they're in. But there are commonalities to the purpose that you all hold as you come together in a cry and an absolute appeal and an imperative of solidarity. Choose. Make those issue-based alliances work for you. The only criteria is not whether you all achieve what needs to be achieved. The criteria is that you can actually work together across your differences. Indeed, in spite of and because of your differences, you manage to work together to achieve at least one idea, one aspect, one commitment together. There is much to do And therefore, the plurality of alliances is quite all right and perhaps necessary. But it is important to work together, realizing that this earth, when it survives, it will not depend on, oh, the United Nations or, oh, the government of one country or the other. But when and if this earth survives, it will be a testament to the ability of human beings to believe in a very critical, basic divine principle. And that critical, basic divine principle is that we are created diverse. We are created by the divine creator to be different. We are not created to be equal. We are not created to be the same. We are created to be different. Therefore, the challenge for us to honor the divine creation is to work together to serve all, regardless of the many, many, many diversities that we will encounter that defines part of our humanity. We must work together for the benefit of all. The minute we start prioritizing which organization, which religion, which country, which nation, which community, which tribe, the minute we start doing that, that is the beginning of the end. The minute we start to go beyond to see which issues are relevant and imperative for our common survival and to work on those together, that is what our divine commitment has to be. And what religious leaders need to understand today is that we look to them for the example to set. We are no longer looking to political leaders. We have already lost Bishop Desmond Tutu, and we have already lost Nelson Mandela. We are not looking towards political leaders today because there aren't any who can possibly live up to those statesmen who lived before. But we can look towards religious leaders, and we do, so that they may exemplify the kind of leadership that transcends boundaries, that transcends barriers, that upholds the common good, and that protects our common planet and the rights and benefits of every single one of us, because we are all creations of the Almighty. That is the mission that you need to work on today. Think of which common priorities you have. Some of you work towards some of you work towards others, but you work together in order to achieve the survival of this planet and to honor the divine creation. Thank you, and the very best with your deliberations.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I hope we're all feeling inspired. And I believe that Dr. Kuria has rejoined us. You can see the things that Dr. Kuria was saying built on what Prof. Azar was also saying. But before we move on, Dr. Kuria, is there anything else you'd like to add before we begin our introductions?
I'm sorry. The technology failed me there a bit. We had a bit of a jump of the electricity, so the internet went. Yeah, but just to conclude my remarks is I invite the religious leaders in South Africa to revive the spirit that was there in 1984 when religious actors were actually at the forefront in the liberation struggle and building the just, harmonious societies that they looked forward to, and a revitalization and rejuvenation of Religions for Peace South Africa into a national movement of religious actors pushing for justice and prosperity of all South Africans will come into fruition very soon. So thank you very much. And I also wish you well in the deliberations, even as I sit and listen what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuria. So before we go on, what I thought was quite profound about what both Dr. Kuria and Prof. Azar has shared is, this concept of common priorities. So we know in the beginning in 1984, the common priority that all religious leaders were getting behind was ending apartheid. And so now it's time for us to look at what are the priorities we have as a nation now in South Africa. So we're going to begin now with giving everybody an opportunity to share who they are, what they do, and what they would like to see. What is their vision for South Africa? And through us each sharing very briefly just one or two things that we really want for our country, the hope would be that we would be able to create from all of those comments some sort of a common common vision, a central point that we can focus together on. So I would like to now hand over to the participants here today to each share who they are, what they do, and what their vision is. If it's all right with you, I'd like to start with Reverend Molo from the South African Council of Churches. And also, I believe he and Reverend Mtetwa, who will be joining us after his doctor's appointment, are also involved in the existing National Religious Leaders Forum that was formed during COVID. And as we know, through this history of South Africa, we've often had various interfaith, multi-faith structures that have come and gone. And I think that's one that started during COVID, and we want to turn that forum into something perhaps more solid through this concept of multi-faith action and solidarity in a structured way. So if it's okay with Rev Molo, I'd like to ask you to please begin by sharing who you are and what you do and what your vision is. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Haley, and greetings to everybody on behalf of the South African Council of Churches. The South African Council of Churches, as many of you would know, this is the Christian space. It's one of the leading voices in our fight against apartheid and the search for a just, reconciled, and a peaceful society that can show the world what it is to live in peace with one overcoming the fracture, the pain. Having looked at what has happened in the country, realize that South Africa has not invested enough resources in building what we call a reconciled and united society. And that society that is bringing all forth the dreams that we had when we were all involved in the struggle against apartheid. We realized as the South African Council of Churches that in that journey, that project either was left to politicians and whoever we might consider to be experts on whatever area of the life of the nation, precisely because partly we were in our excitement and euphoria of the liberation that came. We trusted that all those
Dear Rev Molo, the reception is not very good. Perhaps I can suggest we all turn off our videos, except the speaker. Maybe that will help the connection a little bit. Rev Molo, can you repeat what you've just said? Oh dear. Okay, Rev Molo, what you were saying was so interesting and so important, and now we can't hear you. Dear friends, I don't want you to worry. We're going to have all of these pieces of this meeting recorded as well, so we can ask some of the friends that we may have missed some of what they said to repeat it, and it will all be onto the YouTube channel for us to view later. Rev Molo, can you hear me? I also feel perhaps this is a testament to the importance of us finding a way to get together in person so that we can actually hear everything we have to say to one another and get to know one another. Rev Molo, I'm so sorry we can't hear you, so we're going to continue on. Can I ask please now for Pradeep Ramal to share for 2 minutes?
Yes, good day, revered religious leaders. Firstly, I want to thank the organizers for inviting us. Coincidentally, I was one of the founding members in 1984 under the late Bishop Tutu. We were student activists at University of Durban, Westphal, and he invited us to Johannesburg, and I'm most grateful. Today I represent with Swami Ram Pipananda, the Sarva Dharma Ashram that is doing humanitarian work in the impoverished areas of Walbidat and Lamontville, etc. So Swamiji is here. He could give a brief introduction of what he is actually doing. But under the banner of the Shivananda Ashram in Rishikesh, or the Divine Life Society as it's best known, we serve humanity irrespective of religion. And we are here to promote different pathways to peace. In 2004, the World Parliament of Religions, we presented a case of how we can approach peace from different pathways. So on to Swami Ram Pipananda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swami. Okay, Swami, try and unmute yourself.
Unmute. Okay, got it.
There you go. Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning to all our brothers and sisters. This is my first time on this chat. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm based in Walbidat, actually, at the Sarva Dharma Ashram. The word Sarva Dharma meaning embracing all. Yes, we can have a lot of talks about unity and about bringing interfaith and all these kind of things. But end of the day, if the leaders are not practicing what they preach, then it will become a useless workshop. Just talking and talking and talking. But it must be a practical thing. As leaders, we need to show our followers or devotees of God the part of unity, the part of working together. Although we might worship God in his different names and forms, but at the end of the day, we cannot see God in the living human beings, then we will fail in bringing unity amongst one another. So we at the Sarva Dharma, which is based in Walbidat, we have a very, very universal way of doing things. And our whole goal here is to bring that unity of of love to one another, and to see God in one another, and to treat everyone equally. In the eyes of God, we are all equal, but we have different languages that we speak. But in the eyes of God, we are same. So yeah, at the Sarva Dharma Ashram, that is our teaching, is that we must love our environment. We got to love our brothers and sisters, and we got to share our wealth with one another. And here we have, my whole idea is to, of course, educate children. I mean, I have a lot of children that I'm educating for over the years. Some of them are now doctors, some of them are teachers, and to just bring that harmony and to empower the poor children, the children that are neglected by their parents, to give them a goal and a vision. If we want to change our country, we have to change the youth. We got to educate the youth. We got to give them a direction. We got to empower them so that they become good citizens of our country. So the Sarva Dharma Ashram, we are feeding just about 4,000 people every single day for the last 30 years. In that way also, to keep down the crime and to keep down poverty, and violence. So the feeding scheme goes on. It goes to the schools and it goes to the people in the village. So that is what we are doing. And thank you for allowing me to be here in this chat. You can hear me?
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate that. And thank you again for representing the Swamis of South Africa today. And we are so happy to be working with the spiritual leaders of our Hindu brothers and sisters.
Yes, we have the Sannyas Council of South Africa. All the Swamis of various beliefs have joined together to bring peace and harmony.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to now hand over to Rabbi Gilad. Rabbi Gilad? We have a representative of the Jewish faith, Rabbi Gilad, but also we have Alana. Alana is our woman of faith representative of the Jewish community. Perhaps while we're waiting for Gilad to sort out his sound, we can ask Alana to share. And she has something that's maybe very exciting to share. She just got back from something quite incredible. Maybe she could tell us one or two things about that. Alana, over to you.
Thank you so much, Hayley. Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with you and to be in the company of such esteemed religious leaders. As Hayley mentioned, my name is Alana Baranov. I am the Jewish Woman of Faith representative. I am also the political and social justice liaison for the South African Jewish Board of Deputies and the social justice liaison for the Durban Holocaust and Genocide Center. And I work with the World Jewish Congress on the steering committee of their Jewish Diplomatic Corps. And it was in that capacity, through the World Jewish Congress, that I recently attended the UN Commission on the Status of Women event last week in New York. I had the great honor of being able to meet with some of the members of the Religions for Peace International Office in New York and was involved in discussions around women's rights, women's representation, to have a faith-based element to the discussions and to bring that aspect into that. So thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Thank you so much, and very well done with your 2 minutes. Thank you. Rabbi Gilad, are you with us as well? Okay, we're going to go to Mama Ila Gandhi. If you could share with us some thoughts of who you are, what you're doing, and what your hope is for South Africa.
My name is Ila Gandhi, and I wear many hats. Firstly, I am a co-president of Religions for Peace International. I'm chairperson of Gandhi Development Trust and Phoenix Settlement Trust, and I'm patron of a number of organizations in South Africa and international organizations. The work I do is around building particularly a united South Africa across all barriers of race, religion, class, and all the barriers that society has created, including gender and so on. So build a united society, particularly in South Africa, but also worldwide through the international organizations. And then also that once we've built a united community, we also embrace a culture of nonviolence. A culture of nonviolence would mean that we live a life of nonviolence, which means taking care of your neighbors, being compassionate, being, sharing with other people, sharing knowledge, sharing skills, sharing wealth, and so on. So that is the work that I do. And coming into this organization, my purpose is that, in the world today, we see so much of crime, corruption, and so on. Although it is a few people who are involved in this, they get the most publicity. And so we think that the whole world is full of corruption and full of crime, but it is not so. The majority of us want peace. We want a good society. Majority of us believe in our religions and the teachings of our religions. Now, for us, the majority, the challenge is to spread those values to those few who are corrupt and who are upsetting our world in this way, through the violence, through the crime, through the corruption, and so on. So to bring about peace and justice and unity, I think faith organizations are best placed in the world. We have a huge congregation. We have their attention, and it is our duty to promote these values and to ensure that our communities carry out these values. So that is my vision for Religions for Peace. Thank you. I hope I didn't take too much of time.
Thank you, Mama Ila. We appreciate you. Over to Mlingani. Uswaya.
Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a great pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you to Religions for Peace South Africa for organizing this dialogue. We're most grateful. As mentioned, I am Mlingani Poswayo. I'm the director of the Baha'i Office of Public Affairs in South Africa. And I'm accompanied in this space by my dear sister Atlekhan Nagedi, who is very youthful and talented. If I'm lucky, I may convince her to sing for us at some point in this gathering. That's if I'm lucky. Thank you. So what do I do? Such deep questions Religions for Peace is asking all of us. You know, who are we and what do we do? You know, the Office of Public Affairs for the Baha'i community in South Africa has been, for the past 3 years, largely focusing on learning and contributing to the discourse on social cohesion and nation building. And this has led us to establishing a space for South Africans of all walks of life to discuss, to reflect on the issues pertaining to our society and to contribute at the level of thought as to how we may be able to resolve some of these challenges. I'm quite happy that the previous speakers have also mentioned the challenge of gender-based violence, of religious intolerance, and we believe that South Africa cannot fly and be prosperous if it is to fly with one wing only. It needs both men and women to contribute to the development of South Africa. And we also believe that as religious leaders, we also need to focus on the importance of finding spiritual solutions to the social challenges that we face. Because the human being, as we know, is endowed with a special gift, and this is the soul. And this soul is without race, is without ethnicity, it is without gender. If we raise the conversation to this spiritual level as to who we are, we may be able to deal with racism, for example, which is a challenge in our country. We may be able to deal with gender-based violence. because through the knowledge that my soul does not have a gender, so it means that as a male, I cannot be dominant and regard myself as superior to women. And there we're able to get into a deeper conversation about how to combat and prevent gender-based violence. And colleagues, if you allow me, some of these social challenges that our country faces, they stem from the family, from the breakdown of the family as a basic unit. And we have much work to do in that regard. So I do not wish to talk much, as I think my 2 minutes is coming to an end, but I'll just end with this, that the vision of South Africa that I have is a South Africa that takes care of the spiritual and material education of its children. A South Africa that helps and assists its youth to navigate and empower the youth to navigate the turbulent period that they are facing. And really a South Africa that uses the principle of consultation as a means of resolving conflicts at all levels. And that for South Africa to prosper, the three protagonists have to be work in collaboration. And this is the individual, the community, and the institutions of society. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mngani. I'm starting to see some common threads between many of our hopes. That's wonderful. I'll hand over now to Atleham.
Good morning. Thank you so much for extending the invitation to me. I'll also just keep it short. My name is Atleham, and I'm not in activities that I conduct, children classes and junior youth on a weekly basis, that I feel is my contribution towards just making this place, this world a better world, and equipping young minds with the capacity to be able to recognize the inherent oneness of humanity and start thinking about how they can, in their daily lives, start contributing towards creating that oneness or manifesting that oneness. So my vision, it's really at a level of principle, and we'll have to, through consultation and engaging, try to recognize how we can make it practical. But my thoughts are that we have to start to consider every person in society, or that all of us in society, we are all members of one body. And when one part of a body aches, we know this, it is felt by the whole body. And resources are sent to that particular part of the body. It can be even a toothache. I don't know if some of us have experienced a toothache. A toothache, it's just here, up here on your tooth, in your gum. Yet your whole head will also feel as though it's in pain. Your body, you might even start to get a fever. That is how the body reacts to one part of the body being in distress or in pain. And so if we can start to see the whole of society as one body, and that we are all here for a particular purpose, and it's a united purpose. And if we are able to achieve that level of unity, we will definitely be able to go very far, because we are all endowed with great spiritual capacity. We will be able to allow this world to become heaven on earth. But of course, we have to start to look at this at a practical level. This is just at a principle level, what I would envision should be in our minds when we are engaging with society, so that we do not have prejudices that prevents us from recognizing the capacity of all, and the ability for all of us to be able to contribute to creating a better, safe South Africa, where, as my colleague Mlingani mentioned, where we are looking at the spiritual education and the material education for all, and recognizing that many of the issues that exist materially is the root cause is actually a spiritual issue, and that truly needs attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for painting that picture for us. And also just a quick note, we've been very strategic and made a very strong effort to include women of faith representatives, and some of them being young, like Atlehang, because we know that religious leadership is not just the priests and the rabbis and the mullahs and the swamis, even though they have huge roles to play. We need to build leadership within our youth and our women too, and we have to work as partners. And when we can do that, then we start to see representativity, and we have a bigger pool of diverse thoughts and ideas to draw on, so that we can improve ourselves together. Thank you so much, Atlehang. I would now like to invite Sister Dominica and Father Hugh from our Catholic community to please share. I believe they're sitting together.
Good morning. I am here for the first time on this platform. And I'm also new on SACBC desk, secretariat desk here in Victoria. But I can share a little bit about where I come from. I come from the spirituality of St. Francis of Assisi, whom we generally know across religions. A spirituality that promotes peace and the communion of everything, people and everything that surrounds people. It is based on relationship, caring for each other. It is the other side of what we read from Genesis, where Cain had done something wrong to his brother. And when he is questioned about that, his response is, "Am I the keeper of my brother?" So what is being preached by the spirituality of St. Francis is the other side. We are each other's keepers. That's what we promote as Franciscans. So we want to redress that mentality in order to make ourselves aware and take care of each other and take care of the nature of creation around us, because I am each other's keeper and the keeper of everything that God has created, and uphold the divinity of everything that God has created. I thank you for the space and for the invitation of today's chat.
Thanks very much, Dominica. I think one of the things that strikes me whenever we meet around difference is the idea of conversion of heart. We can talk a lot of words to people, at people. We can share lots of ideas. But somehow, in all of this, if we are going to come together we have also got to speak about a change of heart, an openness of heart, that I can be more accepting of your difference, my difference, and that I, in my own life, my own experience, my own heart, can create the space for us both to be. I think a lot of the time, different groups, whether it be faith groups, political groups, social groups, spend time not creating or allowing the space, and that's a problem that starts within our hearts. And I think that's a real challenge for our faith communities today. That it's not about having a one-up on somebody else. It's not about defining ourselves against somebody, or our values are like this, but their values are worth less. But it's about being able to deliver our message in such a way that we create space for the other, and yet create a pride and fulfillment in what we believe, and in some cases the unity of that belief, and in other cases the uniqueness of that belief. I've got to introduce myself, Father Hugh O'Connor, and together with Sister Dominica, we make up the Secretariat at the Catholic Bishops' Conference in Pretoria. Thank you. Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you so much for those important words. I've started taking notes of some of the important points everybody's sharing, and I'm putting them in the chat for us to refer to. Next, I'd like to invite Vedant Singh to share. Vedant?
Yes, hi, good morning, one and all. As pointed out, the name is Vedant Singh, and I am a executive member and youth designate on the Religions for Peace South Africa board. My other roles are being a Southern Africa regional representative to the African Union Interfaith Dialogue on Violent Extremism and the Youth for Peace program in Africa of the AU and the UN. Part of my work, or the focus of my work, is using the soft power of interfaith dialogue to prevent violent extremism. And what I do on a day-to-day basis is striving to ensure that there is inclusion and mainstreaming of young people and diverse voices at policy development processes and at high-level decision-making tables. My vision for Religions for Peace South Africa is for it to become recognized as the go-to institution when it comes to faith and religious communities in South Africa, and for it to become a household name. I think my task was not for remarks per se, but just to answer these three questions before us. Thank you, Madam Fudu.
Thank you, Vedant, and thank you for all your help with Zoom today. Next, I would like to invite Reverend Tandy to share. Reverend Tandy.
Good morning, or good morning, everybody, and good day wherever you are. And thank you so much, Madam Hayley, for inviting me today. And I greet you all in the oneness of our Creator. It is truly an honor to be in such a prestigious event of religious community. And I truly believe that together really, we can be able to raise consciousness. As Hayley has said, my name is Reverend Thandi Ntlengetwa. I'm here representing the Association of Global New Thought. Now, the Association of Global New Thought, we have community projects on training and development. And then I will talk about two of the main community projects that we are doing. Firstly, let me go into our basic concept, in spiritual education. We talked about peace as an absence of conflict. But at the same time, peace is a state of consciousness. And peace begins at individual level. So even if there is no conflict, but if an individual in society, because an individual obviously is the first unit of society, and an individual is the first unit of the family, and families, of course, make up a nation. So change has to begin with individual consciousness, and from individual consciousness, if we get the critical mass, then we go to collective consciousness. And so there are two programs or projects that we are involved with. I'm the founder director of Unity Center of Love and Light, and we do these projects through Unity Center of Love and Light. The first one is the Season for Nonviolence, which we started way back in 2015. So the Season for Nonviolence, it's a 64-day program that recognizes how can we resolve problems or conflicts in a non-violent way. And why do they call it the season? The Association of Global New Thought started by recognizing the date of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., which was somewhere in February, and the date of the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. And those two were icons of nonviolence, you know, during this century, actually. So between Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination and the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, there is 64 days. I don't know exact dates, but there's 64 days. And during those 64 days, there is a conscious effort on a daily basis to educate society on nonviolence. And what we did here in South Africa, we actually, so that is very much South African also based, we did the 67 days on Nelson Mandela. And on that 67 days, we had high schools. When we started, high schools from all over Johannesburg, and each one of them would actually be, you know, told and share in a Nelson Mandela quote that really speaks to them. So this is how we integrated our young people, especially high schools, to really understand the legacy of our peace icons in South Africa, instead of only hearing them in history, but you know, to hear and understand their quotes. And we do this every July. So that's the first one, the Season for Nonviolence, and I'm the coordinator of the Season for Nonviolence in South Africa. And then the second one also is spiritual education. This one is the Connection Practice International. Unity Center of Love and Light has got a foundation, Connection Practice Foundation South Africa. Now, Connection Practice also comes to how we resolve conflicts as a society. You know, as you can see, there is a belief that, you know, we can only resolve conflicts through violence. You know, if we're not violent enough, if we don't ban, if we don't kill, if we don't do all the things, we will not be heard. And so we work on individual level on how to resolve, practical training on how to resolve conflict. So there are two things, you know, sometimes people at individual levels, we don't fight because we hate each other. We fight because we don't understand each other. And so we give insight. In Connection Practice, we believe that if people have got enough insight, you know, like intelligence and understanding what is going on with the other person on the other side. So we take insight, and insight is understanding other people's needs and feelings. You know, we may be talking, you know, now we are talking about needs for peace, while another person, the main need is just hunger, to fill up the stomach for the day. So if you don't understand the needs, even though you practice peace, you won't be able to meet the needs of the society. So we teach insight, how to get insight, and then we connect insight with empathy. So insight plus empathy equals connection. Then you are able to connect, with a person or whoever it is that you want to make peace with. So those are the practical tools that we do Season for Nonviolence and the connection practice. And right now we are training 300 young people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. As you know, there's a lot of unemployment in the country. So we are training young people on the connection practice module in order for them to be ambassadors for teaching people on how to connect. So
this is really wonderful.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I've sort of summarized and yes, and my vision for Religions for Peace in our country is for collaboration of all religions.
Wonderful. I share that same dream, that same vision. Thank you so much, Reverend Tandy. And just a quick note, Heartlines is not with us today, but Heartlines has also does similar work to connection practice in trying to help build individual consciousness, but also bring people together for collective consciousness and getting to know one another through our stories, so we can understand each other, and then it's easier to unite. It's a very important point you've shared. Thank you. Next, I would like please to introduce, or I shouldn't introduce, he shall introduce himself, but the Archbishop of Cape Town, Archbishop Brislin is with us, and we welcome you and so happy you're with us today. If we could ask you please to share.
Thank you very much indeed, and a very good morning to everybody. There are two archbishops in Cape Town. I'm the Catholic version. My counterpart, and who refers to me as his twin, is Archbishop Makgoba of the Anglican Church. It's very good to be with you this morning, and I'm one of the new kids on the block as well. I'm involved, of course, as being the Archbishop of Cape Town of the Catholic flock, but also I'm a participant in Pax Christi on an international level, which is the peace movement within the Catholic Church. And I'm also part of the Religious Leaders Forum here in the Western Cape, as well as being part of the South African Council of Churches in the Western Cape. And I hold a couple of portfolios within the Bishops' Conference. I think my vision for Religions for Peace is that, first of all, we need to accept each other and to accept difference. As we've heard, difference is not a bad thing. In fact, diversity is created by God. But there are a number of issues that we can unite on, and it is those issues that we need to concentrate on and work together. Because if my brother or sister is poor, I cannot harden my heart and not do anything about it. And that's a common feature of all our faiths. We need to reach out. And in South Africa, we are experiencing terrible poverty among people, terrible disappointment, particularly among young people who lack opportunity. And we as faith leaders must work in order that young people do have opportunities, that they can grow and develop themselves, that they can gain knowledge and learn skills. It is when people have a stake in the resources of the country, when they have hope for the future, that provides a basis and a foundation for peace. The South Africa we dream of, and I think this is common to all of us, is where we are truly one nation, where we can transcend our differences and what the apartheid regime did to us in colonialism before us, of dividing us into different people, and to learn to accept each other as people of different cultures, different colors, and so on. I really believe that while we enter into dialogue as religious leaders, in order for there to be real peace in our country, there also needs to be some sort of national dialogue, that we need to come together as citizens of the country to look at what our issues and what our problems are, and to forge a common way ahead of us in order that we may truly work for a peace that is lasting and that is not just an absence of hostility and violence. Those are just some of my thoughts. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very, very much. And your twin, Archbishop Makoba, he sent his apologies. He's actually traveling right now. Otherwise, he'd also be with us. So I'm glad you'll be able to report back to your twin, perhaps some of the things we've spoken about today. Next, I'd like to invite Rabbi Gilad Friedman to share. He's with us now. He's been furiously taking notes. I think perhaps that's why he wasn't ready earlier. So welcome, Rabbi. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Hayley, for getting us all together. It's always like to note by way of introduction, it's very hard for us to gather our own congregations. And when someone has to gather a congregation of religious leaders, it certainly is a wonderful achievement. And we recognize everyone who is in attendance in terms of how special it is to be able to have dialogue and to know personally so many people from so many different cultures and faiths and locations as well is an incredible thing. And often I find that when I speak about that, people are so surprised, and when they see photographs of many of us who know each other so well in this virtual room, it's that those images that create an awareness that I think can break down so many barriers and so many perceptions of hate, which is certainly one of the challenges that we have in the world against peace and action. In thinking about it, and I was taking some notes, I'll share with you just for maybe a minute or two some of the things in terms of the vision for religions for peace. A dialogue seems to be towards the top of my list, along with friendship, genuine friendship in a non-judgmental way. Just today in South Africa, the media, or social media, more so than other media, is quite full with the idea of a planned national shutdown, potential planned national shutdown in South Africa, and people are panicking, and we're saying to people, that they should be very careful about where their sources of information are coming and what they use for judgment. So when it comes to these kind of things of interfaith dialogue and peace and action, I think non-judgment is so important, especially when we don't have the cultural literacy so well of our partners who we are entering into dialogue in. When it comes to the issues that we address in, we need to focus on our own backyards. There are so many important issues abroad, and our hearts always go out. We've just seen this tragic earthquake in Turkey, and we must pray, and we must even be involved. But often it's an easy approach to spend more time focusing on issues abroad than local issues. And I just want to qualify my statement to say, of course, we must be involved with outreach works throughout the world, especially when it comes to dealing with things. But at the same time, there is so much to do of action right here in South Africa, in our very special South Africa. Our youth, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done with education, and there's a lot to be done with values education. And when I was thinking about the word action in terms of the title of this gathering, is that we often have a focus on acceptance of others, but what we also need is a focus of acceptance of our own faith. And I wonder perhaps if there was more of a focus of people in South Africa accepting their own value systems of their own faith, how the whole society wouldn't be able to be more action-based in terms of values, because that ultimately is the thing that we have in common with anyone, is the idea of values, and of course, values that come from God. So those are some of the things, and I'm going to end with maybe a loaded statement. I said to someone the other day in my congregation, and I'll repeat it here, the idea of being involved in one's own faith is that it would be such a wonderful thing in terms of action and creating peace, is if we could see all of the ministers of our governments and all of the members of parliaments without fail every single week attending their own temple or their own mosque or their own synagogue or their own church of whichever faith they are involved in, standing up and taking action to make sure that the world sees and that they see and that their families see and that their congregations see that they are also sit below God, and that the people in their congregations can engage directly with them on the ground. And perhaps when we are able to engage with upper echelons of leadership in South Africa from a religious base point, just over a cup of tea after a service, or upon leaving or entering the place of worship with people who otherwise sit in government, but also members of our congregation, and to have access to these people on a weekly basis, not once or twice a year, but on a weekly basis, perhaps that could be a wonderful action point to create a sustainable peace in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Gilad. I think that is so important. If we are friends, if we know each other, it becomes much easier for us to collaborate and action together because we trust each other. When you're a friend, you trust your friend, and it's easier to work together. Thank you for those important points. Even though Sheikh Walid started us off, I'd like to ask Sheikh Walid, please, also to share his thoughts. And dear Sheikh, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you for all those colleagues and friends who spoke before me, because they said it all. And this is what about this platform here, to exchange our feeling, our heart, our soul here, and to say it as it is. For me, let me say I am the regional director for IROSA, the International Islamic Relief Organization for Southern Africa, the executive advisor for Muslim World League in the African continent, where we do a lot of humanitarian work, regardless religion, race, and serving humanity only. We do health, like the eye cataract camp. Right now we have free eye cataract operations in South Africa. We do about 500 this month. We do projects like boreholes, that disaster relief. Right now we are in Mozambique and in Malawi, helping the people there. Humbly, I started the Council for Interfaith Council for South Africa, 1996, with religious leaders here in KZN, and work together. I believe in unity and diversity. I respect everyone's faith, because this is how God make us different, and give us freedom to choose whatever faith we want. So if we respect each other faith, but with understanding, the problem is we don't know each other. In this dialogue, when we spoke about Islam, when we spoke about Judaism, when we spoke about Hinduism, we explain ourselves to each other. We put it open in the table, so it won't be that fear, and it will bring us all together. And I want to echo what also Brother Swami have mentioned. And it's very important. We have many conferences. We have many platforms. We have many also organization or bodies. But action is little. I'm not going to say there's no action. Action is little. We have a lot of challenges, even with the government. Now, a rabbi was talking about, my friend, the rabbi was talking about, inviting the government leaders when they come to our churches, when they come to our mosque or synagogue or wherever. But we're having a problem that the system, the schooling system, the children, from primary school and up, the violence is there also because of the system. The system is not in the right place. There is no system, I believe. And if we don't come as religious leaders together and solve those problems, if we don't challenge the government ourselves, peacefully, because we are peaceful people, call them to a platform like this and say, this is what we are planning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because if you don't save the youth, which are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and they will be criminal of tomorrow, this is a problem. I think we have a lot as religious leaders in our shoulder to work together. We need to work together. Those challenges will only be solved if we are all working together. Different faith doesn't matter, because out of 100%, we are in common with 97%, and only 3% we different. So leave your 3% in your mosque, in your synagogue, in your temple, and come to me with the 97 that we are in common and we work together. My vision is to bring Religious for Peace to a stand of unite all these bodies. We have many interfaith bodies work together to serve the Almighty. We all serve the Almighty in a different way, but let's serve the Almighty in unity for us to reach everyone. Why we should have poverty? We shouldn't have poverty in this country, but there is no system. We're not getting to the point. So if this platform here will bring us all together, I hope by next meeting, which is going to be in August, and it will be in person, it will be much better than we do in individual. And we get things down to the ground, and we work in action to translate what we say here in this platform to reality. We have, as the previous speaker also mentioned, that the environment, the nuclear, the injustice, the inequality, poverty everywhere. So why? We need to fix this, and only the religious leaders who can fix it, because we are the majority. I don't believe we are minority. We are the majority, because every institution, every religion, every church, every Sunday, every Saturday, every Friday, we will have millions of people gathered together and they listen to us. So we need that message to go to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You on mute, dear Haley.
Haley, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry. Okay, so friends, I unite with all of you in the common visions we've all shared. I feel very strongly that I feel the same. Perhaps just one, sorry, my name is Haley Fudu. I'm the Secretary of Religions for Peace. I'm also from the Baha'i Faith. And perhaps just to add on to what Sheikh Walid said, and perhaps many of your shared visions, is that my hope is that we can just decide on one practical action that we can do together. And that we can also meet in person in August. That's all for me. Thank you. Since I didn't use my 2 minutes, Atlehan, you wanted to share a song. I think if you can keep it very short, you can have my other minute.
Haley, do you mind if I share?
Don't worry, we're not done. We're still gonna get to you, Usha. Don't worry.
It's a prayer that I'll sing. Okay. Oh my God, I ask thee by thy most glorious name to aid me in that which will cause the offense of thy servants to prosper. and thy city to flourish. Thou indeed hast power over all things. Thou indeed hast power over all things. Oh my God, I ask thee by thy most glorious name.
Thank you so much. Amen. We ask God by his glorious name to help us in what we're trying to achieve today. Thank you so much. Dear friends, we have just 3 more friends to share. The next friend is dear Usha from the Brahma Kumaris. Over to you, Usha.
Thank you. I'm actually so grateful that we had this beautiful moment of silence in the form of a prayer to God. So firstly, my name is Usha and I'm based in Durban, but I'm actually part of a national team. We are 4 coordinators that are responsible for the work of Brahma Kumaris in South Africa. And the thing that I find most amazing in terms of what we as an organization can achieve is to work with the motto that we have, and that goes that when I change, the world changes. And it was very beautiful to hear previous speakers speak about being a sentient being, about consciousness. And this is really something that as an organization, we focus on transformation of that within ourselves. That when I can be the change, then it gives others permission to do the same. So in terms of consciousness, very often our world is actually living with the concept of what is material. And that which is material divides us into gender, nationality, race, skills, etc. But when we come to the consciousness of being a sentient being, then we actually transcend all the physical things. And our true unity lies in being that energy. And that energy itself, in its inherent form, is peace, love, happiness, joy, wisdom, and power. And so in a very beautiful way, to actually bring that shift in consciousness from looking at myself in a human to being spiritual and divine. And all of you, my friends, will know that every single day when you meet people from the congregation or the community, not only do they listen to your words, but to your vibration is what actually gives them the relief. And so the vision that I have is that as religious people, moving away from what we speak, but to actually be that change, so that it gives people that power to hear the words and to inculcate the practices. If we look at our country, we have the best constitution, and one can only ask, why is such a constitution not put into practice? And so it comes with the understanding that it needs power to actually be honest. It needs power to be truthful. It needs power to have courage to stand up. And this comes from our spiritual teachings. So really, I see that this group has a very important role in actually becoming the medium that will bring about that righteousness. As much as we can speak about governments and politicians, the strength that lies within the spiritual sector or the religious groups is to actually bring transformation. And so really on a daily basis, we send out thoughts going through multimedia, hoping that people, if they listen to different thoughts every day and shift their awareness from looking at ourselves in a very mortal way to bring about that consciousness of being spiritual, that will actually help us to give each person that self-respect it's really my understanding that what we've really been deprived of and the greatest poverty that we're experiencing is our human values. And so from the foundation to give back individuals that feeling of their true value is a very important study. And I think it went across from all different speakers about values and virtues. But I feel the onus, even on this topic of climate change, you know, a simple personal act of being vegetarian can actually save our planet. So whilst we can really speak about the issues, it's really important that we as religious leaders and practicing these spiritual values become an example of it. And then the strength of the religious leaders will become the ruling power. I really do feel that it's something we need to work about in bringing about the strength that people will once again respect our spiritual homes as their place of sustenance and support. So this coming together where we're getting to know each other and working together is a very important step. And I do see that this is a vehicle that will bring great change within our community. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you so much. So friends, I'm just going to come back to our program, if you can look here. Now, there's only 2 people with us today that have not yet shared who they are. And the reason I've waited to put them towards the end is because we were talking about, we listened to what Prophet Azza said, is that there are many things that we can unite around, but there are often, we have to be selective and just sometimes focus in on 1 or 2 things in order to affect some change. And we have with us 2 representatives of people working in the interfaith space on 2 quite critical issues that are impeding peace in South Africa. So we thought it would be wise for us to share what is happening on these 2 fronts. One is on spiritual crime prevention. And Bishop Blessing Mbuyazi is going to share a little bit about what that is. And then afterwards, we'll go right to Daniela, who will share a little bit about the national efforts to combat gender-based violence, femicide, and violence against vulnerable groups, including men. So she'll be sharing as well. So I'm going to hand over to them. And dear friends, as you've noticed, I've given everybody a little bit more than 2 minutes because I didn't want to stop the flow, which I think has contributed quite well to the discussion on the way forward. So we're going to share these 2 things, and then we're going to try and wrap it up with 1 or 2 concrete ways forward. And I see also that Mama Gogo has just joined us from the African traditional religion, and we're very happy to have her because, again, we're trying to make sure that we are inclusive. And I'm so happy we've had representatives of all the faiths here today. Apologies from the Buddhist community. There was somebody here earlier, but she had to go. And there's been many others who've wished us well that couldn't be with us today. But Mama Gogo, would you like to share just maybe 1 minute who you are before we move on? And you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, we hear you.
I'm Gogo Muntu Gladys Sekhache. I'm sorry to come to the meeting so late. I was just struggling to log in my phone. Now I'm using my son's phone to attend the meeting. I'm from the Traditional Healers Organization, a chairperson of THO, Traditional Healers Organization. And then I'm happy to be in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gogo. We're happy to have you with us. So we are going to now hand over to Bishop Blessing Mbuyazi. Over to you, Bishop. You can unmute yourself, Bishop. Okay, I'm not sure what's happened there with your sound, but we're going to come back to you. We'll start.
Okay, I'm back.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm so excited to be on this platform today, Religious for Peace. I'm coming from the spiritual crime prevention that actually was launched last year by the SAPS. It was a dream of the former National Police Commissioner, General Kehla Sithole, and he handed the task to General Matonsi, who is the son of KZN, but operating at the national office. Now, they've realized that what police are doing, police in uniform are doing, and the CPF, what they are doing, is not actually bearing the fruits. And they decided to approach religious leaders to be involved in combating crime, because religious leaders, they're all over. They touch each and every person where they live. And religious leaders, they touch the inner man. Some of us will call the inner man in our heart. The heart, I think, is up here. So as they approached us, they expect us to work with the local police stations, which are different regions. We need to have a structure there, and the structure will then form up the district structures. From the district structures, then we have provincial structures. Of course, then the provincial structures will form the national structure. Now, I will speak mostly about KZN, where I am active. In KZN, we are now busy mobilizing all different faith groups that are in KZN. And I appreciate the opportunity that I can speak to a larger group of leaders, that they'll be able to mobilize themselves, mobilize their followers to be involved in this combating of crime, because no one is immune from crime activities. We are all suffering, and we need to come up strong. Someone mentioned about the power that is needed, and the power that is needed is in us. It's us coming together, then we have the power to shake everything. The devil has no room if we combine the forces. I was actually taken by all the presenters that were sharing here. We have a common ground. And what stops us coming together and share the ideas? I think the time is now for action. People that are tired of the boardroom talks and conferences and meetings. People, they need action on the ground, and we have the power of doing that. I will just mention our objectives, or some of them have just been mentioned here, is to create a platform inclusive of the based faith organizations addressing the decay of morality in our communities. We are clear about that. The nation is going down because of what is happening. We know our young people are involved in drugs, so many things. Because of time, I'm not going to mention all, but we are clear about what is happening. Moral regeneration, we need to be involved. Moral and religious education, you come together and we teach our people. Our mottos, we say, more God, less crime, less any other thing that is against the Creator. Youth development, strengthening of family structures. That is the consent. Family structures are broken away and everyone is just doing as people want to do. Now, as religious leaders, we need to bring back that, because I don't believe there's no faith-based organization that talks against love, that talks against unity. All the organizations, they talk about unity because unity brings love, and love is God. That's how we believe. So we need to strengthen that. And another one is to work with our prisons, prison ministry. What is happening in our current correctional services is not what will heal this nation, but we need to be involved so that we can, a person when he comes out of correctional services is really corrected to come to be reintegrated to the community. The program, Community Offender Reintegration Program, when the ex-offender comes out, is the community or the victims ready to receive that person, or they want to retaliate? Those things, they need us as the religious leaders to deal with it. Once a person is sentenced, then the program should start. We start with the victims, we start with the families, we start with everyone. We get them ready to say, yes, he has committed the offense. Now he's been sentenced. Now how is the offender side affected? Because some of them, the breadwinner goes to jail. What happens with the family? What happens with the victims? Maybe the one who's been killed, who's been whatever happened, is a breadwinner. Now it's no longer there. What are we doing as a faith-based organization? And establishment of crime prevention support desk in our churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, and every worship centers. We need to establish those support desks. We need to move out of our four walls, but go out in the community, see what is troubling the community, and bring that up to provide solutions. They must not see us going to the worship centers and come out. They don't know what we are doing. How do we impact them? Those things, we need to establish those support desk in each and every worship center. And also we need to improve the skill, the life skill of young people through joint social programs and aimed at steering them away from the criminal behaviors. Also create a conducive economic climate to ensure a growing and sustainable economy in this country. Quickly, I will just give what we have achieved so far as the interim steering committee. We managed to get UKZN on board, and they've crafted a course, chaplain's course, that will be done by all different spiritual people, so that we can be on the ground, we can do the same thing, and we can advise where we need to advise to take our community to another level. This course has been submitted. Yeah.
Sorry, if I can ask you just to close, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello?
No, go ahead. Just if you could please wrap it up now. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. We have established this also many districts now, but currently now we are working to establish a Teguini district. We are encouraging each and every person. I know I will get information with your approval, get information from our chair lady at the present moment or program director so that I can contact. I love the ideas that I get here, especially Mlingani Potso, you hit the thing on the nail. I would like to have one-on-one meeting with you. And that is all I can say now, but I think the presentation will make it available, but it's focusing mostly on KZN, but other provinces also, they're open. You can go to the nearest provincial police commissioner and get information and get involved. That is my appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bishop. That was wonderful. I shared the notes of the main points you've said as well for everybody. Thank you. And now over to Daniela.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can see me. I can't see myself. Am I visible? Am I audible?
Yes, I see you. Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to try and be quick. And I think, like Bishop, the thing is when we're passionate about the work we do, it's quite hard to keep it to a minimum, but I will do my best. And I also kept some notes so that it will try and keep me focused as well. So forgive me if I look at them now and then to bring me back to reality. The first thing I want to say before I even introduce myself is a word of appreciation to Religions for Peace, for you, Haley, and for Sheikh Walid, for your vision, and everybody for your contribution. I feel like I am on sacred ground, virtual sacred ground in this case. And I just thank you for the privilege of being able to be in this space with all of you. My name is Daniela Genrich. I am coordinator of a coalition that specifically in 2013 came together of faith leaders to address issues of gender-based violence. In response to a cry really by many survivors. There was research that was done on gender-based violence, and what came through in that research was that the first place that many survivors feel they need to go to, whether it's domestic violence or it's rape or whatever it might be, is their spiritual leaders. But what they said was that very often that was the last place they got what they needed. And so in response, and in, I suppose, a repentant response, several faith leaders got together and said, let us listen better to survivors. Let us hear how we can be more supportive. And just to quote from the chairperson of the RfPSA Survivors Network in KZN that has really guided us as we will speak out in many ways. She said when she was asked, but why are you coming to us? She said, when you are abused, your spirit is attacked. And that really hits home. And if a person's spirit is attacked, how can we not see the depth of the importance of our contribution? Sorry. So I want to just then focus on a specific, as Haley has said, a specific alliance around a particular issue, which is gender-based violence. And we see gender-based violence as a symptom of the social fragmentation. And that it's a consequence of the stresses, the pressures on different people, in terms of the injustices that they're experiencing and the chronic trauma that they're experiencing. And I think it's important that we understand that when we look at issues of gender-based violence, we are not just looking at violence between men and women or different people committing violence individually against one another. It's a much broader issue, and that's also why it's so important for the faith sector to be part of that. Just to mention, sorry, I forgot to mention my other involvements. I am also part of the Anglican Church. I am a lay canon in the Diocese of Natal, tasked with equipping the Diocese of Natal to deal with gender-based violence and related issues. I'm also, as we will speak out, we are secretariat of a global network called Side by Side, which is a global interfaith also network to achieve gender justice and justice more broadly across the world, and their chapters in almost every continent. We are also secretariat to an interfaith movement nationally called the Faith Action to End Gender-Based Violence. And so our focus, while it is so much on gender-based violence, we see it as a symptom of many broader issues that are creating the social fragmentation and social disintegration. And the family also, and I think this also connects with what several other people have said, family disintegration is partly as a result of our social disintegration and the social injustices and the failing mental and spiritual health that people struggle with because of all these challenges. But it also contributes to social fragmentation and the social disintegration. And so it's really important, we believe, that this is a critical project that can bring all faiths together. There's no faith that would ever promote any form of violence, and least of all gender-based violence or intimate partner violence. And so also just to say that what's been interesting is there's been a lot of work that's been done by government and by civil society, but it feels like things are only getting worse. And in fact, I've been very interested that the government in particular and several civil society organizations are really looking to us as the faith sector. I was invited to address the Presidential Summit on gender-based violence in November. And interestingly, I was attacked by, it was in plenary with 1,500 people or so, by many wounded people saying, the faith sector, I can't go to church anymore. I wasn't supported. I feel damaged by my church or by my mosque or whatever. And I think part of also what I think Usha said, or Ella, the importance of also being honest, that at times we have been complicit unintentionally, but that we have also not been present, or maybe we've just been quiet. And so the importance of us also examining ourselves, I think different people have mentioned that as well. But also knowing that there are a lot of really positive initiatives. Yes.
If I could ask you please to wrap it up.
Can you hear me now? I saw my connection was unstable.
It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. So the practical project, if I can go to that, we are embarking on a joint faith sector initiative to unite for gender-based violence, beginning with some consultations with the diverse groupings from different faiths to actually draw up a statement on gender-based violence from their particular perspective. We will come together, we will learn from one another. We will draw out common principles over the next few months and prepare a joint statement and a joint plan of action with a joint platform to address in very concrete ways how we can work with gender-based violence to end gender-based violence together, and to support also other initiatives, government and other initiatives that are taking place, and to engage in joint training processes and activities that we really contribute to the broader national strategic plan, but also always bearing in mind that fundamentally our call comes from our God of many names and many symbol systems that unites us in our diversity. I'm going to stop there.
That's a perfect way to end. Thank you so much. So dear Daniela has presented us with something very tangible to be a part of. And I will circulate that statement that they're putting together and give you more information about that Faith Action Network endeavor to end violence. I will also share with you what Bishop Blessing Buyazi shares with me regarding the spiritual crime prevention, so that we can create spaces to prevent crime and to support victims and perpetrators in our communities. So dear friends, before I have Sheikh say the closing words, I would like to ask a question. We've listened to all of these incredible presentations, and there's just a few very clear things that I heard over and over again that I feel that we can unite around. The one that I'll share just now is Daniela had mentioned, let's be present with our congregations, let's be present and available to our people when they come to us, vulnerable, hurt, and in need. Let us be examples of spiritual values. Let us create spaces for dialogue. Let us support our youth and build up the family structures again in South Africa. And let us help with education that is both spiritual and material, especially for our youth, and commit to being places that are safe for people to come to when they are experiencing difficulties. And then lastly, and I think we all felt this today, can we all please commit to working together on these issues? Because there are some very powerful people in this room. And if we are united and we decide that we will work together, we will be strategic, and we will also share what each group is learning so we can learn from one another, then I think we have something solid and tangible. So dear friends, if that's acceptable, can I just ask if there's, just for simplicity, is there any objections to that proposal for a way forward? Is there anything important that I've missed? Okay, so I'm taking the silence as everybody is on board. If you could also, let's just take this screen down. Let us just put our videos on for a second. So we're all together here. Unfortunately, my video is not working, but you all know what I look like. If everybody could please put their videos on so I can just get a thumbs up from you so I know you're with us. I can see your beautiful faces and know we're together on these decisions. Thank you, Archbishop. Thank you, everyone. Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. So, dear friends, there is proposed dates for us to continue working together, continue getting to know one another. There was a proposal and some offers of support for us to get together in person in August in Cape Town at the home of Archbishop Makoba and Archbishop Brislin. The Desmond Tutu Foundation has kindly offered a space for a conference, and Heartlines and We Will Speak Out South Africa has kindly offered some support with, I think, with food that is going to take into consideration all the religious needs and facilitation. And We Will Speak Out South Africa is also, I believe they've offered some help with facilitation and accommodation. So we have these offers for us to be together, but it also takes the commitment of all of us to decide, yes, we are on board. Yes, we will make sure we get ourselves there. We are all part of religious institutions that have funding, perhaps to get us there. So I just wanted to ask if you could, perhaps in the chat, just share with us if you would be willing to come and meet with us in person in August and to solidify through face-to-face interaction our way forward as a people of various faiths, united and structured and organized. So that is our hope. And then again, next March 16th in the next year, we'd like to make this an annual national interfaith dialogue online. And as issues arise in South Africa, if now that we are reunited, now that we know one another, we can address those issues and perhaps have emergency meetings once in a while if there's something that comes up that we need to meet on. But I think if we can solidify our commitment to just these two future events, and then we continue the conversation, and you promise me you'll all reply to my emails, then we can stay on the same page. So that's all from me as your secretary, dear friends. And I'd like to ask Sheikh Walid if I've missed anything, and if not, please to close for us.
Thank you, Sister Heli. I think it was a wonderful, successful meeting today. In my opinion, this is one of the best meetings we have. That everyone attended this meeting was in the same page, in the same line. We all looking forward to reach what is the best to serve the Almighty and to serve our community and bring peace, not only to South Africa, to African continent and to the world. And this pray that this model of Religious for Peace will also transfer to other countries in this world, because this is what the role of the religious leaders today, to get together, to put together a plan and a way forward for us to have a better life and better space in peace in this world. I hope that will be transferred to action soon, and not like from now until next meeting we will be sleeping. I urge every leadership or leaders amongst us here in this meeting, whenever they have any program, any project, to send it to us and to support each others. It will be nice for our community to see the religious leaders together. This is my always objective, that when we go to a funeral, let's go all together. When we go to a wedding, we go all together. When there is a disaster, we all there together. When the community see the religious leaders hand by hand together with them, peace will come, changes will come. So I hope this will take place. And let me thank the Almighty first for giving us this opportunity to meet this morning, to spend 2 hours together as one family, a religious family, concerned people, and make this meeting, only the Almighty make this meeting peaceful and successful. And my thanks go to all the leaders, men and women, and all protocol observers. I'm not going to mention names because all of us, we know each other. I love you all. I thank you for responding to the call of Religious for Peace. I thank you for all your wisdom that you have given us and your experience in this meeting. This is very, very important for us as a religious leader to learn from each other. I know a lot of things have been said by different leaders that we can use in our life. We have to promote love. We have to promote all these peace together, not individual. And thank you all. And I pray for every success for Religious for Peace and for every religious organization for their projects, what they are doing, because we heard like every organization have many projects, and we pray for their success in their project, and we're happy to hear that. And special thanks go to Sister Heli, you, the one behind the scene, doing all the hard work with your team to bring us together today and have a very successful meeting. So thank you all. May the Almighty accept from us, and may the Almighty give us, increase our wisdom and show us the right as a right and give us the ability to follow it. Show us the wrong and evil as wrong and evil and give us the ability to stay away from it and serve our community as long as we exist in this earth. Amen. Thank you all.
Amen. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you, friends. We will meet again soon, and please look out for an email, and we will find our way forward together. Shalom, salam. Take care.
Thank you.